Sanditon, oh Sanditon, when will we get our season 2? Hi everybody, it's Nia from the Vixens of Fiction YouTube channel, and today we are going to talk about Sanditon. We're going to do a quick review, hopefully I'll keep it spoiler free, of Jane Austen's final and incomplete manuscript. And then we'll talk season 2. Now this adaptation was done by Andrew Davies, who also did 1995's Pride and Prejudice, and he did Little Dorrit, as well as Les Mis. So I was very excited to see what he was going to do with Jane Austen's unfinished manuscript. So if you can't tell yet, I am going to fan art Charlotte Hayward, played by Rose Williams, Sydney Parker, who was played by Theo James, and Georgiana Lamb, who was played by Crystal Clark. So Davies pretty much covered all of Jane Austen's manuscript in the first episode of Sanditon. We get the carriage accident, Mr. Tom Parker hurts his ankle, and the Hayward family helps the Parkers. So the Parkers invite Charlotte to spend a few weeks with them at their new seaside resort. From there, we get the brief introduction on who our main players in the story are going to be. We find out that Tom has a sister and 2 brothers, Arthur and Sydney. And Tom is the one who is promoting and building up this seaside resort town, which he thinks is going to rival Bath. Lady Denham is incredibly wealthy, and she is one of the main investors in Tom's resort, and she's got her heirs are all fighting for her fortune when she eventually dies. Now, Esther and Edward Denham are supposed to be siblings, but they have a very strange relationship from the beginning, with some odd lingering touches and looks and hairbrushing. And Esther comes across as a little cold and I would say kind of like dead inside. Like someone has hurt her deeply. Edward is a cad. I don't trust him at all. And I don't trust Clara either. Especially because she and Edward also have an entanglement. So I promise I'm going to try and keep the spoilers to a minimum for those who haven't seen it yet. I'm going to start with my favorite characters, my least favorite characters, and then the characters that I love to hate. So, of course, Charlotte, what's not to love? She's very sweet, she's kind of innocent and naive, but she is very smart and she's observant. And she's very helpful, and she just steps right in especially whenever Tom needs help with something. She's right there to volunteer and show her gratitude for him inviting her. My second favorite character is Georgiana Lamb. I adore her. I think that this was going to be Jane Austen's first time writing a woman of color. I believe she was biracial in the book, and I'm glad that Jane Austen was ready to go there. And poor Georgiana, she's taken away from her home in Antigua, where she has beautiful warm weather, and she has a love interest that she is forbidden from seeing, and she's stuck with Sydney, who is trying his best to take care of her, but he's not doing a very good job. So the fact that Georgiana and Charlotte become best friends is it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful to see their friendship grow and blossom, and, especially how they really come to bat for each other throughout the series. And speaking of Georgiana needing friends, that brings me to my third favorite character, and that would be Arthur, and he is just delightful. And now for what is probably the unpopular opinion, but I liked Mr. Stringer. Yes, young Stringer. I thought he was so much better than Sydney throughout most of the series. I didn't warm up to Sydney until almost the end. But young Stringer, he's devoted, dedicated, hardworking, and he's so polite. What's not to love? Now, Stringer is the architect for Tom's resort, and he has big dreams. His father, on the other hand, has small dreams and thinks that he needs to be more realistic about his station in life. Which brings me to my least favorite characters. One, the older Mr. Stringer, because he just needs to let his son live. And then, of course, Edward, another one of my least favorite characters. Not that he doesn't play the part well. The character is done well, and we're not meant to like him. But he's definitely playing very dirty with all three of the women in his life. And from the beginning, you just can't trust this guy. And that brings me to the characters that I love to hate, hate to love, or sometimes love and sometimes hate. And we're going to start with Lady Denham herself. I mean, she's rich and she knows it. She's got the power and she's not afraid to use it. She knows that her three heirs are only in it for the money, and she plays along with it and just strings them along. But of course, what put me off about Lady Denham is how rude she was to Georgiana when they first meet her. And of course, I'm sure it's partly because Georgiana is black, but also because Georgiana is rich. I believe richer than she is. And I love the irony of Lady Denham buying this expensive pineapple to show off, which is a big deal back in those days to have a pineapple at your dinner party. And the pineapple looks perfectly fine on the outside, but when you cut into it, it is completely rotten on the inside. And then we have the third character that I love and hate all at the same time. Don't hate me for this, but Sidney Parker. Like, why, Sidney? Why are you so mean? So not only does he do a terrible job of trying to take care of Georgiana, I mean, he is doing nothing to ease her fears and concerns. He's not listening to her when she's trying to explain to him that she cares about this person that she's fallen for. And he's basically keeping her under lock and key, and she hates it. But he's also so rude to Charlotte. Now, he asks her to give her opinion on something, and then when she gives her opinion on it, he tears into her, and it's so embarrassing. And it's like, Sidney, you really didn't have to do her that bad. But he did. That scene at the ball on the balcony is just painful. Now, Sidney does start to win me over later in the season. There's a scene where, he and Charlotte have it out, and he's like, so this is your opinion of me kind of thing. And it's like, well, yeah, you've been really horrible to her and to Georgiana, and you're just totally closed off. So yeah, they have it out. But it's after this that he starts to listen to Charlotte and lets her, have some autonomy and really realizes that she can do things for herself. And he really steps up for Georgiana later on, and that really wins him a lot of points. So I do warm up to Sidney, but in the beginning I was like, yeah, Charlotte, look at Mr. Stringer over there. He's a nice guy. Alright, so the highlights for the series for me, definitely the scenery and the costumes were stunning. The actors all did a great job portraying their characters, so that's definitely a plus. There's a scene where the priest is talking about the girls like they're flowers ready to be plucked, and he talks about exotic flowers. I mean, that was creepy. It was gross. You could see all the girls in that church scene kind of just like rolling their eyes, especially Georgiana was just like, ugh. And then there's a beach scene where there's such a juxtaposition between the men being free to run en natural into the water while the girls go into the dressing boxes and come out looking like The Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, you gotta watch that. There's a separate scene where Charlotte runs into Sidney as he's bathing in the lake, and yeah, that's hilarious. She runs away. She's so embarrassed. Poor thing. And probably one of my favorite scenes is actually a scene with Esther and Babington, and he takes her for a carriage ride down the beach, and it's just so lovely to watch them, to see her loosen up and be carefree. I mean, she's a real stick in the mud most of the time, but she really loosens up when she's with him, and they have such a good time. And the cinematography there is just perfect. So then in the end, we do get left on a cliffhanger, and I just do not like that at all, especially when we weren't sure at the time if we were going to get a season 2. There's only one couple that gets that Jane Austen happy ending. From Charlotte to Georgiana to Mr. Parker, and Mr. Stringer, everybody's future is literally left up in the air. We have no idea what's going to happen, and it ends. So we end like that, and the series ends up getting canceled. Though it's been said now that season 2 is possibly back on. But if it is, we won't have a show until late 2021. Now, the reason why I'm calling this speculation is because the show was canceled. They said that they were done. But in August, there was a Good Housekeeping article and a Film Daily article saying that Prime was going to bring it back. But with everything being delayed because of COVID, who knows for sure? Now, I hope it's true, but I need confirmation from the series runners before I will get really excited. Okay guys, that is all I have for you today. Remember, please hit the subscribe and like buttons down below. It's the best way you can support this channel. And if you like this video, stay tuned for more. Thanks, and remember, be creative.